What will the economy do in 2014? Welcome to Davos. I'm Simon Conselman. We're here with Professor Barry Eichengreen, who's going to tell us. Thank you very much for being here, sir. You're Professor of Economics at Berkeley and a former Senior Policy Advisor to the International Monetary Fund. A lot of credentials there. Growth in 2014 and jobs. Are we going to see some more of both?
Depends on the economy you're talking about, but if you're talking about the U.S., the answer is positive on both counts. So I think the U.S. is poised to grow by at least 3% in 2014, in other words, faster than consensus. And that's consistent with 300,000 jobs a month. Per month. So that's below what you would expect in a normal recovery. That will only begin to bring the participation rate back up. I think people will continue to be disappointed in the labor market, but less disappointed than they were in 2013.
And how long, if we get this 3% this year, how long then before we get to what I would call a full employment level or close to it, where the participation rate is normal and the unemployment rate is, say, around 5-6%?
If the stars align, maybe in 2015. But we've got a ways to go. I think the headline unemployment rate is deceptively low.
Okay, so and that's caused by the low participation rate, people not being in the workforce. Now, you mentioned, it depends where you look. Where are other places of high growth going to be, do you think?
Well, economies linked to the United States, most obviously. So
Canada and Mexico.
This is good news for Mexico. It may be good news for economies like Korea, where the big corporations export heavily to the U.S. But I think 2014 is going to be a year when U.S. economic growth really stands out from the pack. Emerging markets have troubles. Europe has big trouble still, in my view, so it's going to be a U.S. story.
Okay. Now, you've written about global imbalances and the problems with them, and that we've had them in the past, and the imbalances are massive debt levels for some countries and massive surpluses or trade deficits for others. You think that's changing? Why so?
I do think it's changing. I think the crisis taught American households the importance of saving. The American government is dealing with its deficits, public perception to the contrary notwithstanding. On the other side,
the perception is wildly different from that, right?
I think it is. I think the federal government's debt ratio, debt to national income, is stabilizing. The recent data suggests that the healthcare cost problem may be coming under control. Time will tell. But the U.S. is saving more as a nation. China is learning to consume more as a nation. China and the U.S. were the two big contributors to the global imbalances of the last decade. There's still an imbalances problem within Europe that Germany saves and doesn't invest. They run larger and larger external surpluses over time, and I think that creates a problem for the Eurozone. But for the globe, we have many things to worry about, but global imbalances are not one of them.
And very quickly, biggest surprise of 2014 that you foresee? Well,
as I said before, nobody yet is saying 300,000 new jobs a month, so you heard it here.
We heard it here from Professor Barry Eichengreen from Berkeley. Thank you very much, sir.